Hello and Grüß Gott. On this video we're going to be looking at an old ADS, old school power plate amp. It's a PQ20.2. One of my friends brought it to me, wants me to fix it. So I'm going to show you what's inside and give you some hints on how to troubleshoot it. So we're going to flip it over, take off the bottom, and I'll be right back. Okay, these old school amps are two basic sections. This is a DC to DC power supply. It takes 12 volts DC from your car and converts it to usually like plus and minus 50 volts DC by chopping up the DC and sending it through some transformers and stepping it up in voltage. So it's called a switching power supply. And then over here we have the actual outputs, and usually these transistors here is what gets damaged. People shorting the speakers, driving too low of an impedance, and it usually causes those to fail. So what we're going to do is take a look at these output transistors and see if that's the problem. Their complaint is 1/2 the amplifier doesn't work. Okay, if you notice the outputs, there's two different colors of transistors. That's because one is a PNP and the other one's an NPN type transistor. And so you use your diode checker on your digital voltmeter to check for the diode voltage. Basically a transistor is two diodes put together. So that one reads about 0.5 volts, which is what I would expect for a silicon transistor. And we'll read here, that's about 0.5. So this must be the base of the transistor right here. So that transistor is good. So I'm going to go through and check each transistor and see if we can find which one is shorted or open. Okay, so I tested these output transistors. They all seem to be okay. But one thing I noticed is it wouldn't turn on. So I removed this board very carefully, found it had been broken on this end. Somebody had been into it before. They had put the turn-on wire, it was kind of Mickey Mouse. I replaced it with some new wire, and I unplugged the board from the power amp part. So right now I actually have the power supply running, and I can check it out here with my voltmeter. And if I measure the center rail here to one side, we get a minus 33 volts, and to the other side we get a plus 33 volts. So now the power supply is working. So the next thing I'm going to do is plug all this in and see if we can't get this thing up and running. So we'll do that next. All right, so I've put everything back together now, and I wanted to test to see if it works. Originally the complaint was one side of it wasn't working, but what I found was it just wouldn't even turn on. So I've got it turned on now, and I have one channel where I have an output going through it to a super tweeter driven by a sine wave generator. So that works. And then if I switch it over to the other side, which I will attempt to do here, I'm actually having to clip this in, then this side should work. It does, although it's a little distorted. It's because our voltage is so low. I'm not able to drive this adequately, but I do believe both channels are good. The only way to test it really is to hook it into a car and have enough current off the battery to really be able to run this properly. So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, that's the end of checking it out. Just wanted to give you an idea of how to check for the outputs and power supply, and that's all done now. So thanks for watching. Tschüss.